Welcome to Punk Love and Compassion. Today we are speaking with Matt. Matt is a very talented musician. I was lucky enough to be in a band with him at one point in time. And then he moved to Rhode Island.
Massachusetts.
Close enough.
New England.
New England, yeah. And Matt, well, I mean, we'll get into it as we go along, but it was a pleasure for me to play in a band with Matt because I am not a musician, and he very much is. So he definitely made me look good.
Didn't take much work.
Yeah, but I appreciate it. Matt's also just a generally good dude. But before we get into the interview with him, a couple things. If you've heard this before, you know that I am not a professional at this. I'm not a professional podcaster, journalist, whatever. I'm not a professional. I'm getting better. I think I'm getting better. Hopefully y'all will notice I'm getting better too with editing and stuff like that. But it is a journey, and yeah, I'm open to feedback. Also, a couple things. I have 2 dogs. You'll probably hear them they're outside right now. So if my son lets them in, they might actually come and try to crawl into my lamp. Hopefully he won't let them in. I also have backyard chickens. Sometimes you will hear them pecking at the door. Like I said, I have a son. He's 11. You might hear him. And my wife sometimes forgets I'm recording, and you might hear and see her. All of that going into that I'm not a professional. And we do what we can. Cool. Matt, would you like to introduce yourself further?
I'm Matt Green, former drummer of Big Gaping Holes, former bassist of No Asylum, a handful of projects here and there otherwise. Lifelong musician since Rock Band 1 at least. I've sadly left the Huntsville scene and moved up here to Worcester, Massachusetts, and now I'm a part of 5 different bands up here as well. Current projects include Citadel, kind of a heavy prog rock band. Tasteless Jack is kind of with a lot of different influences. It's me drumming with acoustic and vocals, and we also have a cello player instead of any other instruments. It's really cool. Cello player goes through like effects loops and stuff. It's wild.
Awesome.
And lately, I'm also part of a jazz quartet as the house band for the Dirty Jaron Poetry Show. And we just improvise music to go underneath poets. That's been really fun. All around music nerd. I went to college for music and left to play music.
Nice. Cool. Well, thank you. So first question I ask everybody, do you remember the first punk song you ever heard?
Not specifically. I came to music through a really weird path. I mentioned Rock Band 1 earlier. Video games was like my major throughput into music. So I had heard the Tony Hawk soundtrack and stuff like that, but it didn't really click with me until much later. My parents weren't very musical at all. In grade school, I remember like being asked what my favorite band was, and the answer I had at the time was Big and Rich because that's what my mom listened to, and I got made fun of for that. So, yeah, very strange path towards getting into music. That not a lot of people have the same way of getting into punk rock music. I started liking punk because I liked the drum tracks in video games and stuff. It was just fun to play. And then I heard the lyrics, and then I started like kind of learning empathy through that, Off With Their Heads in particular, and their approach to mental health and self-realization really spoke to me when I needed to hear it. And I've been, a lifelong, not even lifelong if it's shorter than most, but I've been into punk since then, since I was like 18 going to college.
Yeah, I think one of the things that a lot of people forget is that we all have a different on-ramp, right? And not all of us are fortunate enough to be born in a big city or a scene with a vibrant punk scene. But eventually we all find that thread and we pull on it and we follow it and we get here some way.
Yeah, I was raised in Hartselle, Alabama. And kind of just a weird kid. I'm autistic and I was not very well socialized at that point in time. I was kind of a weirdo and didn't really have a whole lot of guidance as far as like interacting with people or interacting with culture or just concepts of art and or anything. Just kind of a blank slate. Uh, and around the same time in Decatur, literally down the street, one of the coolest little scenes was also building at Decatur High School. All the guys from the Sluice Fest, you know, the XY Spaces, all those cats were all getting into music at the same time. And it's just like a matter of miles that I missed all that.
So I guess following that thread, at what point in time did you realize that there was like a punk scene?
When So my friend Sid and I we had three friends that all played Rock Band together, Guitar Hero, that those video games, and we were like getting into music at the same time through that. And Sid learned to play bass, I learned to play drums, and we looked for a band. I literally looked on Craigslist and a few hits and misses through that eventually landed with Ronnie Ramone, and Sid and I started Big Gaping Holes, and then we started learning how to play shows. Sid and I weren't even old enough to drink yet. So getting into Copper Top was not an option until we all had birthdays. Ronnie had been around and knew of the scene. He was kind of the guiding force in getting booked to places, playing Maggie's, Copper Top, all the Huntsville spots.
Right. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt real quick. And at that time, there wasn't really many, if any, all ages venues in the area.
Not that I know of. One of my friends down the street from Hartselle, after I, was already established as, Big Gaping Holes drummer and playing shows and stuff, he tried to open up a little record store / venue in Decatur called Blurry Vision, and that was the first all ages venue that I was aware of. Mm-hmm. And I missed that place. That was cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I've talked about on here too. Like when I first moved down here, the lack of all ages shows really bugged me because in my opinion, like music needs to be accessible to everybody.
How can you raise kids in a culture if it's inaccessible to them?
Right, and everything that comes with them being raised in that culture, all of that knowledge, all of the everything,
the safety of being known and in the community, like, is super important. And like we put it behind the paywall of alcohol,
which is, and I don't care if you drink or not, but it's silly not to make music accessible as a sacrifice to make alcohol accessible.
Also, as the musician, that's going to be your most rabid fan base. That's going to be like the first people that want to buy the merch and stuff. That's how you get a successful business, is you market to kids, for better, worse.
And they're the ones who are going to get stoked on it, right? Mm-hmm. You playing to a bunch of, old crotchety dudes, like, they might dig you, but they're not going to go out and tell all their friends about you.
You'll get your cut of the beer they buy, and that's about it.
Right. Maybe. You might get your cut.
Yeah.
Okay, well, following that then, so you sort of found the scene and became an active participant, like really close together.
Oh yeah, I've not been a part of the scene without being an active participant. It's honestly kind of difficult for me to go to shows without playing them. Cool. And I've made a lot of friends that way. It's a form of intimacy, just performing that way for people, and sharing that is really beautiful. And that's always been a part of my presentation of myself to the scene.
So with that, not just why it's important to you, but why or how do you feel that is important in general?
Well, important in general. Okay, so a scene does not exist without people contributing to it. And if you're capable of contributing to it, you should. If you want to be part of the scene and you're capable of bringing something to share, and that could be, video, photo, art, if you can contribute to that, you should, in order for the culture to continue. Otherwise, it's just kind of a one-way relationship.
Yeah, it's I think that's one of the difference between the punk scene and just general music scenes is is how we consume,
Hmm.
right? I think most of America is built on a consumer culture, right? Just
Absolutely.
just how much can you consume, what way are you consuming, all of that. Whereas, you're also very encouraged to consume.
Making your consumption your identity is how, by and large, like you look at the metal scene in particular, like you are judged by who you listen to, what shirts you wear and what patches you have on your jacket and stuff. And more so in the metal scene than the punk scene, I think. I mean, it exists everywhere in all kind of fandoms and stuff, but like you look at all the metal subgenres and stuff and the elitism that happens within that,
Mhm.
that kind of becomes the defining point of who you are as a person, as your
Right.
consumption. But if you're not contributing back, I don't.
I think that's one of the things, in my opinion, and of course I could be wrong, that the greater punk umbrella does differently is that it encourages contribution and it
Mhm.
encourages participation. You don't have to be a musician to have a band. You just have to have some passion,
Mhm.
right? You know, like
In punk rock in particular, you don't even need to have really a lot of skill to do it. The lo-fi recordings of some guy on an out-of-tune guitar and like singing out of key, those become legendary records, super influential records sometimes.
well, and not just music too, right? But like zines or art or dancing or photography or whatever. You know, there's a lot of great artists, photographers, whatever,
Mhm.
that really cut their teeth starting at punk shows.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's always felt to me like the more you contribute, the more momentum the entire thing gets, and that you get the effect of like rising tide lifts all ships. Like the more shows Big Gaping Holes played, the more notoriety, say, No Asylum, Johnny and the Black Frames, like all of our friends would also get because we played so many shows and were known.
and through that too, it's creating a larger community because you're also playing with bands that are from out of town. You're going out of town and playing in different places.
Oh, yeah.
Those bands are then coming here, and it's a trade of passion, right?
Yeah. It's a whole network of favors to collect, amongst each other. Like the guys from Nashville come down and play Huntsville once or twice. Maybe we get a show up there and hopefully find our lottery ticket to be a big band somehow.
but but also, it's creating a network of, or a greater network of friends and relationships too. It's not just like, hey, we'll give you a show if you give us a show, or whatever. It's creating this greater network of like-minded individuals.
Yeah. And that extends, far beyond music and into like actual political ideologies, etc. Just like-minded in a lot of ways, and that's expressed through art.
So you moved up to Massachusetts,
Yep.
give or take,
2 years.
2 years ago.
Hmm.
How was it going from the scene here to the scene there?
So, just right up front, I'll be open and honest with this. We moved, my little found family moved because we're all queer. I'm not trans, but a lot of folks in my little found family are trans. And it's kind of been part of a queer exodus of the South and red states and into blue states, safe havens, and stuff like that. Massachusetts being one of those safe haven blue states. Worcester, Massachusetts, in particular, calling itself a sanctuary city for trans folks. That's really important to me. The state of Alabama has made it very clear that folks like my family aren't welcome, so we're not going to be there. As far as the change in culture, I've been of the mind for a long time before moving that everything that I wanted to accomplish with music would be made better with population density. Just like touring with fewer miles on the road, but to get to the same kind of population centers would make it a lot easier. And that much has rung true. If you look at it from a per capita basis, I guess it's about the same. Worcester feels a lot like Huntsville, but it's a lot physically closer. Within that, it's a lot easier to actually operate as a band, to like find different markets and stuff like that. On a logistical level, it's a lot easier to tour through New England, through the like New York megalopolis, through to DC. if I could take a drum set on the train and make it to DC, that'd be cool. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could. The culture up here actually is also a lot more supportive. Where Huntsville, I mean, the city's doing a lot of great things with the amphitheater. The city itself is investing in a lot of like music infrastructure, but it feels to me like Huntsville writ large thinks culture is something you can buy off a shelf, whereas New England has had it for, centuries. It's been earned. The culture is here. The history is here, and the sense of civic pride to go with that history is so much deeper than anything I've felt from Alabama. Even as someone as privileged as I am, my family is, deep generational Alabamians, and they don't talk about much history between the 1850s and the 1950s. Like it kind of feels like Huntsville started really existing in 1970. And we know that's not true for several reasons.
Very much so.
I'm excited to see where Huntsville is on this front in 30 years. But for a lot of things I've just mentioned, I'm going to observe it from Massachusetts.
And I don't think anybody faults you for that, right? Like, you need to be where you can be who you are without fear. Yeah. And I mean, it's just stupid. It's just stupid.
Even the stuff that, is constitutionally unenforceable, like, oh, that'll never actually happen, whatever. I'm not interested in being part of a lawsuit that strikes it down. I just don't want to be part of the process at all.
Yeah.
I don't want my friends, my family, my loved ones to, have to suffer any kind of indignity just to be in the same place and try to keep building this momentum that feels like the tires are spinning anyways.
Right. No, definitely. Kansas just revoked the licenses of everybody who's trans. Mm-hmm. Like how?
At the same time that they're trying to make voter ID laws national.
Right.
So that's just a fucking blatant play right there. Like that is a strategy.
Yeah, and I mean I can't, as being a straight white person, male, I can't imagine what it's like to be impacted by those things, because I'm never going to be impacted by that.
Even I'm I'm cisgender. I am default settings on gender. I've never had, any question about that in my mind. Mm-hmm. But just like as close as I am and as insulated as I am, I'll put it this way. The strongest act of kindness you can show to a trans person, even if you clock them, you notice that they're trans, the strongest act of kindness you can show them on any given day is just to call them by, what they want to be called.
Yeah.
To have seen someone just their face completely light up because she asked me to call her she, her, and I did, and it made her day. So, something as simple as that. It like changed her mood for the rest of the week, that someone recognized that.
Yeah.
It really illustrates how dire that is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's just stupid not to do it. It's just stupid and disrespectful. Like I was picking up my son from school the other day, and pulled out from his school, and the vehicle in front of me had a personalized license plate. And the license plate said 2 genders. And in my head, I was like, how ignorant and
talking about consumption as your identity.
Right. But like, yes, sorry, I interrupted you.
It's the consumption of that political agenda, of that ideology as identity. That the showing signs that you're on their team makes you part of the group. What all the like cultural flags but they're all contrived. Like all of the things that like tick the boxes and get the happy juices flowing about, oh, I'm part of something bigger than myself. Mm-hmm. And it's all contrived. It is all kind of falsified in a way. Like these are natural thoughts. It's just kind of preying on a little bit of confusion to send you so far down a bad road. and be controllable as part of the bigger thing. Because if you're already in for a penny, in for a pound with this trans rights thing, you never really bothered to try and understand. You'll be okay with the next thing. And well, we're seeing the next thing in Iran right now.
Yeah, we're seeing the next thing on a daily basis, in this country. Like every day there's some new craziness.
Yeah, that country name that I just mentioned, by the time this podcast comes out, probably different. But
and that's one of the issues with this too, is that just how I have this podcast set up is that I record podcasts, a month or two before they come out, just because my own brain is comfortable with having a bank going in, so I don't like struggle every 2 weeks and panic every 2 weeks to make sure I have one to come out. But one of there's a couple who I keep trying to interview, and every time I interview them, something goes wrong. One day we'll get this interview done, and they've been very patient with me. And they live in Texas, and they're great people. Like I said, they've been very patient with me, and we've tried to interview like 5 or 6 times. Every time like something goes wrong, but every interview it's like, well, I know we talked about this last time, but this is old news. Like now we have this, and what seems like something that happened 5 years ago really just happened 2 weeks ago. There's just so much has happened since then.
It is March as we record this.
Yeah.
It's been 3 months. It is March 4th. It has been 2 months and change, and it has felt like 2026 has dragged on for a decade.
I think one of the things that a couple of things people get caught up with, one, it is emotionally exhausting, right? It is
by design.
Just emotionally exhausting. It is also, it's almost like the Blitz, where it's like everything all at once. We're going to attack everywhere, so they can't defend everything.
Flooding the zone. That's literally what they call it in their strategy meetings. Right. It is intentional. It is. Yeah.
Right. And so the people who feel very strong about trans rights, like, hey, we've got to fight this. And the people who feel very strongly about immigration, like, no, we have to fight immigration. And people who feel strongly about this are like, no, we have to fight this. And it's very divisive on their part, because all of these issues are important.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for all of us to remember that, like, yes, this issue may be important for you, and it is an important issue, but we still need to support and show up and support the people who are doing this. Like, we still need to present a united front regardless, because this is all important, and it's an attack on all of us.
Yeah. And it's a fodder. It is distractions, like making one topic the topic du jour for the day, and like getting everyone outraged. So the next thing, it has a little bit less impact. One of the thoughts I've had lately, seeing as how this presidency has unfolded, that it kind of almost feels like moving for the sake of trans rights feels trivial at some point. It feels like the dust has settled a little bit. Mm-hmm. You saw the license plate that says 2 genders, whatever, and I'm sure that they ring the bell about that every time they want to, but they don't want to right now because we're on to the next thing.
Right.
That doesn't make the fight, that doesn't make the effort that I've put into, making that kind of a cornerstone of my life. That doesn't make that frivolous, but it denies us any kind of actual conclusion where things are better, or God forbid things are even worse. It's just kind of back to the status quo and quiet again until like the next layer of things gets resolved, and it's never going to resolve.
Right.
It's just the strategy to keep flooding with new bullshit.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, I guess they're going to sneak their ultimate fucking whatever strategy in place.
Right. And it's exhausting.
It's impossible. It is literally, I used to work in news. I directed a newscast in Huntsville for the first Trump presidency and COVID. And I'm out. I'm done. I can't do that.
Yeah, because at what point in time, do we like take care of ourselves, right? And for some people, it's like, look, like this issue is me. So me fighting this issue is me taking care of myself, which is true. But also, like, at what point in time, like, is it okay for us to take a breath and say, you know what, like, yes, this thing that's going on impacts me directly, but I need to take a break and take care of just some personal things.
One of my favorite patches that I've seen on a punk vest or on a hat or just as a punk patch somewhere is a cute little pink patch that says "Rest is resistance," and it has like a cat sleeping on it. Like you do have to put your oxygen mask on yourself before you help others, and that mask is gonna fall million times in the coming years. We're locked in for the ride. It's gonna keep happening, but you have to put yourself you really have to prioritize yourself and make sure you're effective at least something, or else you're going to be effective at nothing.
Yeah. And also it's remembering that self-care looks different for all of us, and all of our fights are different too. And in this, I feel it's important not to judge other people for their fight. Some people are frontline people,
Mm-hmm.
and some people aren't, and that's okay. Some people, their fight is just to get out of bed each day and to have the, I don't know if courage is the right word,
It is.
but have the courage to be their true and authentic selves and walk out the door being their true authentic selves and not having to mask for the world outside their bedroom door. And some people's fight is in the shadows, documenting, right? Like they're the ones who are journaling. They're the ones who are going to have the stories documented to tell after this is all over.
Especially in this age of like misinformation and AI generated stuff, it is really important to have that documentation. It's really important to have those, journalists doing good work. You just really have to fight to find it
Right.
nowadays.
Yeah. Well, and just because you're not, in journalism anymore doesn't mean like your fight has just shifted. Like your role in the fight has just shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could be a frontline person until you can't, and then step back, rest, take a break, sleep, and then figure out where you can plug yourself back in, whether that be back on the front line or whether that be doing work with Food Not Bombs or whether that be calling senders or whatever, or whether that be anything.
Creating for my causes, just simply creating a space for community to exist in any capacity has always been important, and it's something that I've kind of found myself to be good at. Discord or other various social medias. Huntsville has a really great kind of underground trans Discord communication community full of resources, and they used to like be connected with a bunch of local doctors, but I think that's kind of fallen as resources get zapped away. But that's a whole bigger topic. Just creating the safe space for people to discuss these things is in itself resistance, and that's creating community, and that's chiefly like that's what it's all about. Is they're trying to deny us community, so we need to have it even more.
Right. And for me, I think that's important. Like creating that community, creating the safe space is important, but also being vocal about it, right?
Yeah.
Like not just, saying to your buddies like, "Hey, like I'm an ally," which is fine. I just said not judge that, but for me it's like not only do I want my friends and family to know I'm an ally, I want everybody to know. Because I want everybody to know their stupid, racist, transphobic, sexist jokes aren't going to fly with me.
Yeah.
Like, not only am I an ally like when we're in private, but like I'm an ally in public. And not only like are you safe in my home? So you can come over and we have dinner or, play Risk or whatever people do these days. But also, like, you're safe at my shows. So you're safe in public with me. You're safe in private with me. Like, and everybody's going to know.
There is a rigid dichotomy. I don't remember where specifically this is from, but a friend of mine passed it along to me that there is a rigid dichotomy between gay people and Nazis. Just like just to put it that plainly sounds absurd, but it is true. Like, if you have a Nazi, you have no gay people. If you have one gay person that is like established in there, Nazis also can't exist. Like, it is a strict dichotomy, and any step towards one excludes the other.
Yeah.
And to make the deliberate choice, even if it's just one gay person unconditionally, you make your own community a safer place for, people that aren't Nazis, which is what we want, really. That's the goal.
Right.
I'm trying to be politically minded about just calling someone Nazi, and that's no, fuck them. Fuck Nazis. No. Hot take.
Well, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a Nazi. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel that we are past the point in time of soft shoeing around this. Like, yes. Like it's
the term Nazi has been used so often in recent decades. It feels like it's lost all actual meaning, and the concept of a Nazi has become cartoonish. But really, it's just shorthand for hateful, self-centered, bigoted people that feel like having to acknowledge other cultures is a burden, that feel like having to acknowledge any kind of other way of life, that's something that they were taught, like having to acknowledge that way of life is a burden, or that something that they were specifically taught might be incorrect is, an affront to them and their God, or whatever it may be. That's what we are using the word Nazi as shorthand for. And that specific kind of person cannot continue to exist in a space that is also safe.
Right. No, I mean, I'm with you 100% on that. Yeah, and sorry, my brain is thinking. Give me a minute. It's like my brain has stopped connecting.
No.
Like, there's too many thoughts. It's too many thoughts to try to like focus them out of my mouth. So I think going back to creating safe spaces and that, it's also, I think it's a part of it's also creating authentic relationships.
Absolutely.
And being authentic in your own self.
Being authentic, being visible, is a huge deal. Just any step towards normalization of gay people, trans people. Eventually, we won't have to have pride. Hopefully, we do, but like just for the historical sake of it. But like as it stands, even today, Pride Month, Pride parades, and like that huge spike of visibility is necessary. And making sure that safe spaces continue to exist, that like gay people will not go out quietly, that they will not just quiet down,
Right.
So the maintenance of the community through that also happens at the level of like you and me as cisgendered white men saying, hey, we are also with this, like to be a little navel gazy as the fucking oppressors as we are. Yeah. It is also important that we be on board.
Right. But I also think, even though we're both cisgendered white male, you are, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you are in a family with people who are not.
Yes.
So you're, the level of risk and the level of a daily impact for you is much different than daily impact for me, and is much different than than the risk is to me. Mm-hmm. Talking about risk and that stuff, the other day I was wearing something. I wear various politically sloganed stuff from time to time because, and I feel safe doing it because I am who I am, and I don't get intimidated easily. So I have no problem walking around with whatever slogans on my body that I have. But the other day I was wearing something slogan, who knows what, I don't remember what it was, but my wife and my family and I, we were going to go out to dinner. And as we were walking out the door, I'm like, oh, like, are they going to be safe with, what I'm wearing? And then I was like, well, should I change? So then this internal dialogue happened of, again, sort of weighing that risk, right? Like, I'm okay putting myself at risk. Am I really okay putting other people at risk? And then during that internal dialogue that was going on in my head, also the realization that there are many people out there who can't go change their shirt. Like, the risk is inherent, just them being them. And so I was like, you know what? Let's examine my privilege a little bit and let's use my privilege. And so I didn't change. And everything was fine. Like, nobody said anything to us, which,
Yeah.
We weren't threatened at all. But still, it's like, I recognize, like, for me, I can change my clothes. But there are a multitude of people out there that can't change who they are.
I'm kind of so deep into this as a point of culture that my initial instinct was to razz you about being brave about your shirt. But the truth is, it is brave. It is kind of brave to like acknowledge that for yourself, to have that empathy for someone and then choose to be, loud and proud about, things that they don't really get, that you get a say in, but they don't,
Right.
like it is a step towards normalization, a step towards, a fucking homophobe free. I'll steal a line from, I said I play drums for the Dirty Jared Poetry Show. One of the lines from our intro for every show is that we are a trash free zone. TRASH, no transphobia, no racism, no ableism, no sexism, no homophobia. Trash, none of it. A step towards a trash free society is normalization. Is being loud and proud about it, is calling it out actively or passively, as your shirt might.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, if I deserve to be made fun of, like, make fun of me, like I'm okay with it because I'm also learning. And yeah, I mean, I'm learning. And if there's a lesson I need to learn, like, teach me, like, please.
I'm also, I'm being affected by the grumpy New Englander. I'm sure Johnny can teach you all about that. But
yeah, like, I hope it didn't come across as like I was setting myself.
No, absolutely not. I just thought I had a funny thought.
Yeah,
and it's not that we can't have levity on this podcast. It just was not the venue to like just say, "Hey, fuck you for doing that." Like, no, it actually is a brave thing, but just like also, good job, brave white man. Yeah,
I recognize like the risk for me is much smaller compared to the risk for other people because of just who I am and how I look and other things as well. And like, I don't think the bravery of me wearing a shirt is even comparable to the bravery of people being their true and authentic selves.
And me taking this position also isn't to say that like moving to Massachusetts solved all these problems for me. I mean, it's a great deal better on the transphobia front, but New England's got its problems. Massachusetts, Boston, famously not the most pleasant city for non-whites, but even within that, there's a knowledge and a familiarity to the racism that it is wildly different. Instead of being, having some fucked up take about black people in general, someone's going to have some wild out of pocket shit to say about Ecuadorians pulling a nationality out of my ass. But to know the difference between a black person and an Ecuadorian in any capacity is something that was new to me and I didn't experience in Alabama.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I would have been able to from my own position in Alabama, but just cultural differences here.
I mean, I don't think there's a perfect place anywhere, but I think there are easier places.
There was a line from a TikTok during the election. It was pro Kamala and addressing all the takes about her take on Palestine. and you get to pick the circumstances you operate your activism under. It doesn't mean the activism goes away, but you get to have agency in the actual fight you're putting up against whom, right?
Yeah.
And it's definitely a weight off my chest living in a city that I know my loved ones aren't going to be crucified in. You know, like before we moved, my husband Sawyer worked at Red Robin in Bridge Street, and a little kid, he was openly queer. He had like the dyed, shaved head, trans masculine, so had a little fake beard, a little bit of a beard, and also a feminine body. And a little kid like drew a death threat on the chalkboard, and the parents laughed it off. And that's the kind of like that's how the culture is disseminating in the South, or it was back before we moved.
It still is.
Yeah. And it's a much tougher battle, or it's much tougher to fight the national battle from that battleground, right?
Yeah.
I hate to call it a lost cause, and I feel for all the folks that can't leave. I'm in a position of great privilege to be able to leave. But as far as like effective activism goes, that's just kind of what we're up against.
Yeah. And, and I think going back earlier too, the fight is different for each person.
Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't judge each other for the fights we're fighting. It's just hard. It's just hard. And through that hardness and toughness, I believe comes the importance of just radical compassion and radical empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go for it.
In the South, or at least in Alabama, the culture I come from, it kind of feels like having any amount of empathy whatsoever is the radical thing. Where the South has a lot of unspoken rules and etiquette and attitude that you don't talk about stuff like that. That being someone's mental health issues, that being the fact that my cousin's black, that being any kind of queerness, anything that's not cis heteronormative, anything that's not the status quo, you just don't talk about it. So having empathy and expressing empathy becomes kind of radical in that face. And fucking realizing that that's the state of play that the Klan hides in, it colors the concept of, how nice and hospitable the South is.
Sorry.
It's a great shame of the South that the Klan members made the best banana pudding,
Yeah. So one of my favorite, I have 2 points. The first points I'll make, and then I'll get back to the other one. But one of my favorite put downs in this, it's only really applicable in the South, is I bet your grandma makes a horrible banana pudding, or interchangeable with peach cobbler, whatever rolls off. Like, I bet your grandma can't make a peach cobbler, I think you have to be in the South to really feel that one,
you don't have the knowledge.
Right. Like if I said that to somebody in,
you ain't from here.
Like
you ain't from around here.
They're like, banana pudding. Like what? But if I said that to somebody in the South, it's rough. But going back to the empathy thing, not only I think is it hidden, but it's also used as a mask for an insult, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I first moved down here, people, oh, bless your heart.
Yeah.
It's nice. And then I was like, oh, they aren't blessing my heart. That's their nice way of saying you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
That's their nice way of putting me down. They're masking their disregard and disrespect as
just
right.
Like you are not worth another thought.
Right. God bless him.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. They aren't blessing nobody. They are.
That phrase is ending the conversation.
Right.
It is ending the conversation.
It does make being authentic, going back in, being authentic people difficult when that authenticity isn't valued as a larger culture.
Mm-hmm. When the norm is valued above all else, that's right. A lot of fucked up shit can happen. At Southern socialites will do anything to save face before they save themselves or they save their kin, you know? Like they will save face before they save their child.
Yeah.
And it's fucked up. And it's I have a lot of thoughts about like how and why we got there. The South continues to be a deeply isolated place even in the age of the internet. Just culturally, it is very anti-outsider, even as if outsiders are directly next door. You know, like that. It's it's a strange place. It's a strange culture unto itself.
When I moved down here, people were like, "Where are you from?" I said, "No, I'm from Northern Virginia, DC, or whatever." I said, "Oh, you're a Yankee." You know,
And Virginians don't get that either. Like Virginia is not the South according to Alabama.
right? And it's like, it's south of the Mason-Dixon line, and like Yankees. Like Virginia fought for the, South. Robert E. Lee, like your boy from Virginia, Yankees.
My great 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 however many great uncle.
Yeah. Oh, Robert E. Lee.
Yeah. Yeah. I come from deep roots and I left that shit.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah. The town I grew up is the same town where he grew up.
Cool. Does he have
And-
us there?
Oh, his house is a monument. His house is a
That
museum.
at least makes sense. Certain
Uh-huh.
amount of like Confederate monuments that make sense.
Yeah.
It is
Well-
history. It needs to be studied, but it
Yeah.
belongs in the cemetery. It doesn't belong at the state house.
Yeah, up until recently, his house was at an intersection of two pretty major roads. And up until recently, there was a statue in the middle of that intersection, marking, I might get this wrong, but it was basically marking where the Army of Virginia left to go join the Confederates. So memorializing that place. A couple years ago, I was up there visiting some friends, and one of my good friends and I, we had been walking around. And we're like, we just need to sit down. So we sort of sat down on the steps, not really realizing where we were. And we were talking, and this was during like the Black Lives Matter protests and all that. And so we were sitting on these steps and we were talking about, racism and Black Lives Matter and the struggles of the country and all of this. And then all of a sudden we're like, and isn't this so, I don't know if ironic is the right word, but so whatever, that we're having this conversation about racism in America and the progress we've made and the progress we haven't made and all this stuff that ties into it. And we're sitting on the steps of Robert E. Lee's boyhood home having this conversation.
It's
You know?
important. Like
Yeah.
it's important to have it in that location as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so funny for all the folks that are fighting to preserve Confederate history. They seem to think that they want that in the present somehow. Like that the
Oh, they do.
conversation about racism and the Confederacy as a piece of history are totally incompatible.
Right. Well, and there's a couple of things with it. My view on the Confederacy and all that is that if you are flying an American flag, you cannot also fly a Confederate flag. It's the Confederacy committed treason against the United States. You cannot both be proud Confederate and proud American because one actively fought against the other. Like you committed treason.
Obama was president for longer than the Confederacy lasted. You don't see anyone flying Obama flags.
Right. The other thing with that is that hold on, I have to pull my thought back into my head. Is that, white people in general get upset when we're talking about this, right? And they're like, well, these people say all whites are bad. It's like, no, they're not saying whites are bad, but they definitely are commenting on slaveholders and slave owners and all of that. And you have a choice of who your child can idolize. Your child can idolize the slaveholders and the plantation owners and all of this, but you can also teach them that, hey, there were white people like working against this. Yeah, like the still problematic, like, right? Like still problematic views, but there were still people fighting to end this. There was, so like the slave, like the people that were pro-slavery aren't the only person your child can identify with. They can also identify with all of the people who were anti-slavery.
It is like this existential fear of the concept of sins of the father, right? Mm-hmm. That the son inherits the sins of the father and must repent, whatever. And like there's an absolute fear that goal, the goal of bringing the conversation to the table is to totally eradicate us somehow for some reason, as opposed to, say, just acknowledge shit, just acknowledge the bad shit and be better, learn from history, actually. I mean, I mentioned that I'm, a descendant of Robert E. Lee, and fucking I'm not scared of that sins of the father conversation whatsoever, because I find myself capable of standing the fuck up for my fellow man.
It's who you choose to identify with and who you choose to identify as, right?
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like, you don't want your kids judged for being a racist white person. Don't raise one. Don't be one. Don't raise them as a racist white person or a racist person in general, right? Like, cool. You don't raise them as a racist, they're not going to be judged for being a racist. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. I mean, it's just, and going back to how this started, but the problem is, like, it's all on the table right now, all of it.
Yeah, it's flooding the zone. Literally every single issue is at like fucking DEFCON 5 right now, because it all could come crashing down the next day at the fucking whim of the president, and just exhausting. You kind of have to pick and choose your battles, and I'm ready to fucking, if they hand me a gun, I guess I'll be ready to shoot. Like, I know I'm up here on the right side of history. I'm at least trying to be.
Yeah.
I'll at least ask who's handing me the gun first, but
yeah, I mean, hopefully, like, it doesn't get there, but who knows what tomorrow will bring. I was at my last interview, he has lost hope in, maybe not completely. I don't think he's completely lost hope, but he's definitely lost a lot of hope in the experiment that is the United States, and makes many, many valid points of why he feels the way he does. But God, I'm optimistic, and I realize it's hard to be optimistic, and I realize my optimism is coming from a place of privilege, but like, God, I love this country. I do. And the older I get, the more patriotic I become. And it's not like, America, let's blow stuff up. It's like, there's things about this country I truly love that a lot of people take shame in. Like, I love our struggle. I love that we've made progress, and I love that we still have a lot of progress to make. And I love that. And I love the fact that people are on the streets on a daily basis fighting for a better world for themselves, and that they believe that their voices can be heard and will be heard. And even if that progress isn't made as quickly and as immediately as we want that progress to be made, like, I love the fact we're struggling for it, and I love the fact we're able to do that. And again, I realize, like, my pride and my love comes from a place of privilege, but that's the American dream, right? Like, God, like, there's this place, and it's not perfect, but we can work to make it better. And God, and there's just something in that very optimistic belief that just really gets me going.
I totally get why someone literally could not be optimistic about anything right now. It's been bad. It's been a downward trajectory for a long time. My belief is, the whole system, the system is a system. It's not the sum of its It's not the sum of who's using the system at any given moment, right? I have a faith in the political system continuing, even if the game is rigged currently. You know, like the game being broken does not mean the game is over once we rid ourselves of, you know, the problem. That problem could be any myriad of things. It is at least one particular person right now, but or the whole fucking cabal behind him. But there will be a post-Trump America. There will be, regardless of like opinion about the current. It might look really fucking different, but it'll continue to be here. There's just to bring it about down to fucking base logistics, that there's too much stuff here. There's too much infrastructure here to simply cease existing. You know, the United States of America will continue in some shape or form, regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I believe that. And I also firmly believe that we as a society currently are not living up to our potential. By not living up to our potential, we're hurting a lot of people that don't need to be hurt and don't deserve to be hurt.
And it just goes back to community.
Right.
I've met more neighbors living in Worcester, Massachusetts than I ever did living in Alabama. And it's just like the sense of community that you inherit by living in this city that's been around for 400 years, you know, it is kind of awe-inspiring and inspiring. And I hope to see this level of community awareness and civic pride everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the things that's currently being attacked in this country right now is community. And one of the major ways I feel it's being attacked is through social media.
The loneliness epidemic is a symptom of that.
Right.
And there's a lot of ways to joke about this. At a certain point, this kind of goes down to young men not being taught how to be good people, you know, in essence, by just society writ large.
Yeah.
The concept of toxic masculinity and stuff. But, you know, there's a certain level where a young man's loneliness is kind of his own fault for not getting with the program of like what being a social person is, but also we have failed that young man to not give him that pamphlet to begin with, you know?
Right.
A lot of that is by design. A lot of that, the manosphere influencers, whatever, lean into it and make money off of that. And I'm sure someone is reaping the benefits of the power that wields.
Well, and I think it goes into what you were saying about the South earlier, right? Like, you know, if you don't want a racist kid, don't raise a racist kid.
Mm-hmm. Go out and meet people.
Go out and meet people. You know, and that I think also ties into what we were talking about way back at the beginning is just like the consumerism culture, right? Like we're built to consume, or like we're being built to consume. Like neighborhoods used to be neighborhoods. There used to be like a neighborhood store. There used to be a neighborhood ice cream shop. There used to be a neighborhood thing. And now
that shit's still there. I mean, it's just we've been subdivided and developed into like a suburban hell.
Right. Well, and we don't have to go to those things anymore because they can all be delivered to us.
Yeah.
Right. And so through social media, through all of that other stuff, we're losing that social interaction. And taking this back to, you know, punk is that, and that's one of the reasons why I love punk is for that personal interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Having the safe space that is a show to come and be a community is the important part of punk. It's like the music matters and the lyrics matter, the art matters, but those all come into play in the interpersonal relations of a mosh pit.
Yeah. Right.
And the magic of that mosh pit happens when you show up to the next mosh pit. You know, a lot of the communities that I started a Discord server for Huntsville, Alabama. If anyone in the audience has gone to the Huntsville subreddit and found the Discord server attached to it, I started that. And it's still running. It's still good. A lot of people come in just wondering how to make friends as an adult in this city. And the easy answer is to, hey, go to a show, find a hobby, whatever. The answer is not as simple as that. It's to go to 12 shows, to 24 shows, to make it the thing you do.
Right.
And you'll find the community there.
Yeah.
And you're not going to show up once and like no one's going to talk to a stranger. Don't be a stranger.
It's tough though. It's tough.
Oh, yeah.
As a person,
Shows have cover charges and everything. It
well,
costs money. They expect you to drink a beer or two.
but like, for me, moving here, like I didn't make friends when I first moved here. It was a long, long time, and many factors into that, and like I'm not blaming anyone really, but myself. I worked a lot. I traveled a lot for work. My work schedule was erratic, so like I could never make plans with people because I never knew when I was going to be gone or here or there, whatever. And then next thing I know, like I'm a lot older, and it's like, well, hell, like all the stuff I used to do when I was 27, like I'm not doing all of that anymore. So now, like, what are my new
It can be the
interests?
same thing.
Right. And yeah. And eventually it's like, it's like, wait, like punk rock is still there.
Mm-hmm.
But even in that, like I never made many friends within like the Huntsville punk scene, but it's changing. I'm getting there. Because I mean, being a very socially awkward person also doesn't help with that. There's a reason why I worked in the woods for a long time is because I can relate to a tree.
I'm autistic too, brother.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah. Making small talk is very difficult for me because like if I'm gonna have a conversation with somebody, I want to have a conversation. Like I want to get to know you. Like I want to talk about things. I don't care about small talk and I'm not good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how most relationships start is through that initial small talk.
And it becomes exhausting being the guy that can only have deep conversations.
Right. I'm getting there. I'm making progress.
Proud of you.
Well, thank you. And that's one of the things I really like about doing this podcast too, is having, having deep, what I feel are deep, meaningful conversations on a more frequent basis, and being able to share those conversations with whoever wants to listen.
That's a point that I really love about music and being a musician and kind of my own hack, overcoming my own autism to be, I mean, I'm speaking well on this podcast, but it's after like 33 years of practice of speaking. Like I started at fucking block zero. Like I was awful at communicating as a child and didn't really learn how to socialize casually until like I made myself be an Uber driver full time for a year in Nashville and literally just like empirically experimenting socialness on people as their passengers 20 minutes at a time, and I never see that person again.
Yeah.
That's what I like about music, is that it becomes a deep and intimate conversation with each other as musicians in a band wordlessly. And that becomes the same kind of conversation between you and the crowd wordlessly. I mean, there's lyrics, but the music itself, it is communicating an idea that I have within me and can express to them, but I don't have to have a conversation about.
Yeah.
The conversations I have after a Big Gaping Hole show were like, hey man, good set. Yeah, thanks bro. Glad you liked it. And that has a script that I can run, and I still have that connection with people. I am seen, and I do see people, and that familiarity, that community happens without really ever exchanging words, without ever like even friending people on Facebook. Before this podcast, we were not friends on Facebook.
We weren't?
No, like I sent you a friend request after like I reached out to you on Facebook.
How are we?
I don't know.
Huh. Okay.
But that's the kind of relationship that can be spurred on by like not even having to communicate with each other really.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you reached out to me.
Yes.
That made me
I like
happy.
the podcast.
No, well, thank you. Yeah, it's one of the things that's difficult about this podcast is reaching out to people and asking them to be on. For me, it's hard, and like when I
It's awkward as hell. It's the weirdest sales pitch.
yeah, and so like when I sit down to reach out to people, and like and I have a couple. I've like a couple different lists. And so I have a list of like, okay, I'm pretty like these people will say yes. Like no matter what, these people will say yes. And I have a list of I'm pretty sure they'll say yes, but I'm not 100%. And then it's like I have no clue. And so when I come down to like ask people to be on this, like I have to plan it out. Like I have to like I'll put it like on my planner like a couple days ahead of time. Like, okay, Wednesday I'm gonna invite people to be on the podcast. And then like I'll sit down and I'll go through everything and I'll look at the people and I'm like, okay, like what am I gonna say today? And really go through this thing. And then I'll send out things to like 4 or 5 different people. And most of the times like I don't hear back from them for whatever reasons. And in my head and in my heart, like I know it's not just like, who am I? Because I'm reaching out to people, I don't know. Or
It's hard not to take it personally.
Right.
It truly is hard not to take that as some kind of slight against you, but really like they just swipe the notification away without thinking, no,
Right.
and they forgot.
Right. Or they're like, who is this person? Why are they contacting me? And
It's probably some kind of scam trying to steal my information.
right. And also it's like, hey, do you want to come on this podcast? And on this podcast, I don't necessarily want to interview your whole band all at once. I want to interview like 1 or 2 people at a time. And I want to talk about, like mental health and struggles and things that aren't typically talked about on most podcasts. And I know you don't know me, but let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I also realize that's
And also, this isn't really about promoting your bands.
right. I realize that's a big ask. But God, it's hard. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you reached out to me, I was like, yes, awesome, thank you. Because like I know there are a lot of people not on my list who should be. It's it just hasn't, you know.
Glad to know you've thought that little of me since I left. But
No, I think of you frequently, like, frequently I'm like, God, can I like how do we convince Matt to move back?
I'm trying to at least come down on tour or something. But since Alabama criminalized weed and made it like a felony again, that's going to be a difficult ask for my bandmates in particular.
Yeah. No,
We can meet up in Nashville or something, or get you up here.
It's to be respectful of your time. Gonna start wrapping this up, and it has been a great conversation, and I truly
I've enjoyed it.
So first, how do people find what you're doing?
Citadel is I will call it my primary band.
And is that
right
just
now
spelled
we are
regularly like CITADEL?
Citadel under MA. We're the ones from Massachusetts. We are currently recording an album. We're a prog rock band. It's really weird. We do weird time signatures and key changes, and it has a story. We're like if Coheed and Cambria got really into Dark Souls. That album coming out as soon as it can. We have a few singles out on Spotify and all that. If that interests, we would love the support, and we would love to like start touring the country as soon as possible. My other band, Tasteless Jack, we don't have anything out with drums on it at the moment, but the singer-songwriter from it, George, is very prolific. He's all over YouTube and Spotify with just fantastic songs, man. I'm
friends with them.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah. It's a personal goal of mine to get this man on NPR Tiny Desk. I just think it'll be a perfect match. If you want to see me play improvisational jazz under queer poetry, come out to Ralph's Rock Diner in downtown Worcester, Massachusetts on Monday nights. It's a really weird ask, and it's a really funky place, but it's like my church these days. I love it.
What are you currently listening to?
I knew you would ask that question, and I tried to find an answer. It is too many things to list.
I think 6.
So weirdly, this last week, I started diving into what I listened to in 6th grade in particular. And that was in 6th grade. It was a pirated copy of The Origin of Symmetry by Muse, that album. It's a good album. I like it. I just had that on repeat this past week. I like fucking Snarky Puppy. I like I have to actually go look at the list. I recently got into Viagra Boys. Robber is kind of a new band out of Vermont that are really, really cool. The rhythm section from Fugazi have a jazz band. I don't know if you knew that, but they're called the Mesthetics.
Yes.
Yeah, they just put out a new album, and I had that on for a while. Weird shit. Nowhere, this like weird EDM jazz thing.
Nice.
The Wonder Years,
Okay.
Arch Enemy.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I'm all over them.
So maybe a little bit more focused. Oh, so me, I'm listening to so Iggy Pop did a collaboration with this band called Teddy Bear, and they have this song called Punk Rocker, and for whatever reason this week, like that song has just really hit hard for me. So that's what I've been listening to a lot this week. Maybe, yeah, just that. I mean, I've been listening to a lot, but really, like that song is like has come into play a lot. Okay, more focused. What do you think people should be listening to?
Rage Against the Machine. They should just go fucking listen to those lyrics like a goddamn Bible.
Yeah.
And go out and be active in their community. Local bands, just period. Just listen local as much as you can. I don't care that it's not as well produced as the national acts. Listen local. Support local music.
Yeah. Every national act started as a local act.
It's really funny moving up here and listening to the local band block on classic rock radio, and they play Aerosmith and Bon Jovi. Like they started local. Fucking Jay Giles started local up here.
Yeah. So a band I recently tripped over is called, they have a long name. It's called Rosemary Nods Upon the Grave. Sort of emotional hardcore from Georgia somewhere. God, really, I think more people should check them out. They're really good. Okay, last question. What gives you hope?
My own work ethic, honestly. It feels like my own destiny is in my hands, and I recognize that that's a privileged position to be in, but it truly does feel that way. On the shoulders of a lot of people that have given me a lot of support, but it feels like I am ready to stop spinning tires, get some grip, and start moving. And I have hope within that. And that's everything within my own sphere of influence that I can do anything about. I can do something about. And I have hope in that.
Cool. I have one more question. I'm sorry. What is your advice to 16-year-old kid out there in Hartselle, Alabama right now who's just trying to figure life out?
I'm going to steal a lyric from one of the songs that really helped me in my worst moments. It's from a band called Spanish Love Songs.
Oh, great band.
Brave Faces Everyone. You were never broken. Life's just very long. And that line rings in my head still. And just keep going. You have a lot longer to fix these things than you think. It is not the end of the world. Life does not have... The last page of your book is not impending. Life just keeps going. And there's not going to be a fairy tale ending. That is a freeing thing.
Awesome. Thank you.
One way or another.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay. If you don't have anything else, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Cool.
Go for it.
Thank you. This has been a great conversation. I truly appreciate it, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who has listened to previous podcasts and who's listening to this one as well. I appreciate y'all as well. Yeah, life is tough, but it's not. God, there's light, and it's not tough every day. And and I appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast. I hope y'all stick around for the next one. So with hope, love, and compassion, we'll talk to y'all later.